In today's tutorial, I am going to cover Shopify e-commerce tracking for Google Ads and Google Analytics using Google Tag Manager. So if you're someone who runs a store and want to track those transactions and conversion events on your Shopify store for Google Ads and Google Analytics for using Google Tag Manager, this is exactly the video that you want to go through. Without any ado, I would jump right into the process. So the very first thing you need to do within Shopify is you're going to have to click on the settings and go to Customer Events and connect your Google Tag Manager, right? So we're going to be creating a custom pixel, and we are going to be placing some codes in there and saving it and doing the rest of the things within Google Tag Manager. So you're going to have to click on Add and give it a name, right? Could be, let's say, Google Tag Manager, and you can click on Add Pixel. Once you do that, it's going to take you to this section here. So you're going to have to set a few things. Permission could be not required, and for here, data sale could be data collected does not qualify as data sale, and you're going to have to place this code. I'm going to provide this in a file. You can find it in the description down somewhere, and you're just going to have to copy this entire code and come here in this section and place it, right? It includes your Google Tag Manager container code as well. So the only thing that you have to change here is the GTM ID, right? So you just have to copy this from your Google Tag Manager. So if you go to Google Tag Manager within your container, if you click on Admin, in here, tag installation, here you'll find the code, right, this part. So you can just copy this, come here, replace this with yours, and just save, right? So save this, and that's it. That's pretty much it. You're gonna have to do within Shopify, and now you're going to head over to Google Tag Manager. Yeah, one more thing. So if you haven't installed Google Tag Manager within Shopify, if you're doing it the first time, you're also required to copy the installation code in the theme.liquid file, right? So if you go to your store, click on your online store here in the Shopify, and here click on these dots, click edit code. Once it loads, you're gonna have to find the theme.liquid under assets within your code, right? Copy this and place the Google Tag Manager container right above the header, right above this tag that says header, right? Make sure to not mess up with the code, right? Because it can really put your website in peril. Be very careful and just place this above the header, and then the body code, this one, right? The body tagging, copy this and go at the bottom and place it somewhere here, right above the body section, right? And you can then save it, right? And that's it. You can close the Shopify windows and come over to Google Tag Manager, right? So now within Google Tag Manager, the first thing you need to do is the data layer variable setups, right? So if you click on, okay, here just click on variables and click on, go down, not here, go down here, right? User defined variables, click on new. So what we are interested to track within our Shopify, and for demo purposes, I'm just gonna cover the transaction ID, value, and currency. These are the important parameters you want to pass over to Google Analytics and Google Ads, for you to optimize things around these factors. So I'll be covering this, but of course, the rest can also be tracked. So if you have, let's say, those forms, those let's say, add to cart events, those payment forms, submission events, etc. You can also, following the same process, you can set those parameters, create data layer variables for those, and map them to your Google Ads or Google Analytics for tracking, right? So here I'm going to cover these. So for the value, for example, you're going to have to create a new DLV called DLV, let's say value. You can give it any name you like, doesn't matter. Click on variable, come here and type in data layer, right? You find this here, just select that, paste the value that you have within your Shopify data layer within the code, right? You don't have to look through or manually find that yourself. You can just look at my screen and copy the same process, but just to show you the logic behind why we are choosing certain, let's say, names and not others. It has to match the exact value that we have within the data layer. So it find the value, right, variable here. It has to be the same, right? You're not going to put any other text in here, so it won't be transaction value, or it won't be value with a V, capital V, right? It's going to be the same, exact same we have in the data layer. Goes without saying, so just copy it and paste it here and save it, right? I'm not going to do this because I already have that in here, so I'm not going to duplicate the process, right? But it's the same thing essentially. You have this value and you give it a name, that's it, right? Similarly for the transaction ID, you can go find here, right, the transaction ID, right, is the exact same name. You're copying from there and coming to your new data layer, give it a name, DLV, transaction ID, right, and copy here, find the data layer variable, put in transaction ID. The name could be anything, right, but this has to match the value you have within the data layer, and you set it, right? Same is the process for the rest of the parameters that you want to set, the data layer variables. So for example, for currency, you can new DLV and same process, data layer, go here, place currency. If I go check this within the data layer within Shopify, is the same again, right? So you can just copy from here and paste it there, right? So once you're done setting up the data layers, the next thing you're gonna have to do is set up a conversion event, right? So you have to go to the trigger, right? So the event trigger, and you're gonna have to copy, create new, and give it a name. Let's say I wanna check conversion value, and the conversion event name has to be the one that we have in here, right? So in the e-commerce part, we should see the event name, right, which is purchase. So you're gonna have to assign this event name, right, to this event trigger within Google Tag Manager. So we're gonna give it a name, let's say purchase event. It could be anything. You can create, let's say, you can name it any name you want, but for simplicity, let's say it's just purchases, and here you have to choose the custom events, placing the exact same event name that you have within your data layer, right? It cannot be different, right? So if you want to change this name within your data layer, so if I want to change it to reflect the website, let's say rare assembly purchase, it has to be the same rare assembly or RA purchase within here, right? So since it is just purchase within data layer, you have to copy the same and place it in here. So what it does is basically every time this particular event happens, right, every time a checkout is completed, your Shopify is going to trigger this custom event called purchase, and that is being processed over to Google Tag Manager, and Google Tag Manager, when it sees that event has triggered, it's going to pass those parameters over to your Google Ads account and your Google Analytics account, depending on what you're tracking. So if it's purchase value, it's going to pass the purchase value. If it's transaction ID, that. If it's currency, that. If it's some other events, that. It's just going to be triggered based on the event that you're selecting. So in this case, since the event is about purchase, so GTM is going to trigger a transaction value which is associated with that purchase, right? So you're gonna save this. I'm not doing this. We already have this in here, right? And you are done with this part of the process. Next thing is setting up tags for Google Ads and for Google Analytics 4. So let's cover the Google Ads part first, right? So you're gonna have to click New and give it a name. So before we do that, we're gonna head over to our Google Ads account, click on, let's say, Goals Summary. Down here, if you have an existing, let's say, purchase goal set up, you can just click here and find the conversion level and conversion ID from there. But if you're doing it the first time, just click on Create New and Website, put in your domain here, scan it, and once it shows, you can ignore these. You can go down at the bottom, click on Add Conversion Action manually. Choose the category as purchase, give it a name, let's say purchase, right? Okay, it's fine, just e-commerce purchase, our website purchase. The rest of the options can be left as default, right? So you don't have to change anything, and you can click on Done, right? It's going to create a conversion action now, right? So you just have to now click, let's say, of course, when you're creating there, it's gonna take you right here to this part, but I already have created this one, so I didn't have to create again. So I'm opening it from here. So go to Google Tag Manager, copy the conversion ID, head over to your Google Tag Manager, and give it a name, Google Ads. Let's say we are setting up a tag for purchase. Click in here, select Google Tags, right? If you're doing it the first time, you always have to set up conversion linker first. So you will click this conversion linker, right? And you just have to, for triggers, you have to select all pages somewhere here, right? All pages, and save that, right? This is important for you to be able to track those events for Google Ads and within Google Analytics, right? If you're doing it the first time. But if you have done this, you can just go to your Google Ads, just select, let's say, conversion tracking, this one, and in here put in the conversion ID. We just copy it from within Google and copy the conversion level as well. Come here and paste the conversion level. Now for conversion value, transaction ID, and currency code, we just have to map these to the DLVs we just created. Click on the plus icon. You should find the transaction value DLV somewhere down there. Where? This is here, right? So you can, let's say, select this for transaction ID. You should have transaction ID in here, and for currency you should have DLV currency, and for trigger we just created a trigger called purchase, and you're gonna have to save this. I already have this one saved, so I'm not going to duplicate this. I'm crossing it out. This part is going to cover the Google Ads tracking part. Now you're going to have to create the Google Analytics 4 tracking. Again, click on New. Let's say give it a name, Google GA4 purchase, right? And head over to tag configuration, and this is going to be Google Analytics GA4 event. Measurement ID, you can copy it from within Analytics account, or if you have that one already saved, you can select from here. So I have this here, right, saved as a constant, right? But if you don't have this, you can go over to your Google Analytics account, go to settings, and go to data stream. You should have this data stream set up. You should copy the measurement ID from here, come over to your Google Tag Manager, and paste the measurement ID in there. You can give the event name any name you want. This doesn't have to be the same conversion event that we have within the Shopify data layer. This is basically the event name, the custom event name that you want to pass over to your Google Analytics account. So you can say purchase, website purchase, anything you like, right? Any sensible name is going to work. Now here you need to the only bit you need to take care of is going to be adding parameters, right? So you're gonna have to add, since we're talking about these three, depending on other parameters, if you have those other, let's say you have add to cart parameter, you have, let's say, payment information submitted parameter, you have page view parameter, product view parameter, etc. You can add as many of them as you like, depending on what you want to track. But here we have value, we have transaction ID, and we have the currency, right? So you just have to copy these and paste in here, right? So it comes with an underscore transaction ID like this, and currency, right? You have to keep in mind that these value, we are not just randomly picking these. These values don't have to tally necessarily. They don't have to tally with what we have within Shopify. These values are basically determined by Google. So if you go through their analytics documentation, you're gonna be finding the exact conventions as far as the naming conventions for these parameters are concerned. So they have to be exactly the same. So just to make sure I have the correct ones, I'm gonna, let's say, open an account to cross verify so that they shouldn't be, if you're just copying from me, you shouldn't have the wrong values in there. But I'm almost 99% sure these are the same values, right? So if I go, let's say, here in GA4 purchase, I can see, it's value, it's transaction ID, it's currency, right? These are the same value, and I would say they are matching with what we have within Shopify, but not all the time. It doesn't necessarily have to match with what we have within Shopify. Sometimes the Shopify parameters could be different than the parameters that Google's documentations provide, right? So you have to make sure this has to align with what Google has. So if you're, let's say, setting up event parameters for other, let's say, payment information added, checkout, and product view, etc., those have to match with what Google documentation instructs. So you have to follow that. I will maybe put the link to the documentation in the description so that you can find these parameter values easily from there, right? For other parameters, these ones I already have covered, so you can just copy and paste in your case. Okay, so that, and you just have to now choose the value, map the value to the event parameter, right? So you can click on this plus icon. We already have created the data layer variables, so you just have to choose, let's say, DLV value for this, DLV transaction ID for this, and DLV currency for this, right? And for the trigger, you're gonna have to choose the custom trigger purchase, and you are going to have to save this, right? This is pretty much, the end of this tutorial as far as the setup part is concerned. Just to test, everything we have set up is working. What you can do is click on these preview icon, as well as you can go to Google Analytics, click on these settings, and open the debug view. Once you open the site in the GTM preview mode, you will see live let's say events coming through within your analytics debug mode as well. So you will be able to verify that whatsoever events we have set up, the data is coming through and everything is working. So let's say I put in the URL. Product. So we have the test product. Just copy the URL for the test product, so we don't have to search it and find it on the website. Connect it. And now let's process a test order. Our tag assistant is connected, and we will also see some events coming through already in the summary section, and in here as well. Now that we have connected the tag assistant in the debug mode, we should start seeing some events coming through very soon. It will take some seconds, but it should work. Let me reload this. While this is loading, we can start the testing process. So let's say anything, test, and let's proceed adding it to the checkout. This is for a different account, that's why you're not seeing this, I'm sorry. So it has to be red assembly. Yeah, now we can see these events coming through. So we added a product to cart, so you're perfectly seeing everything is working, and we can see those events summary in here as well, right? So added to cart came through. Now if you go ahead and complete this, right? So let's say any test email, and say test. Okay, this should work. Okay, our order is now processing, and we should now see the tag being fired as well. Okay. The one glitch that I lately notice, it happens sometimes. It doesn't happen all the time, but it sometimes happens with the debug, with the Google Tag Manager's debug view mode. Is I don't know if it's a extension conflict or some other problem, browser issue or something. We are seeing that the debug assistant is still connected in the checkout here, but over here we are seeing it got disconnected, right? And that's why since the purchase event happens in the checkout section on the back end of the let's say debug view mode, we are seeing if it's disconnected. We are not seeing those events after the checkout. But if you go to Google Analytics, we are seeing the purchase event triggered, and we are also seeing any value, let's say, associated with their transactions. Since it's the test transactions and transaction value is 0, we are seeing in here 0. But of course, in case of real transactions, we are going to be seeing the real value in here. So everything is correctly passing over to Google Analytics. We have conversion value, tax, shipping, all the rest of these parameters we are seeing in here. But as far as the process is concerned, as far as the execution is concerned, this is how it's done. And if you're doing it on your end and testing it, following the same process, I'm sure your events are going to trigger, and you'll be seeing the summary for the events that come after the checkout. And so when the transaction successfully goes through, you're going to be seeing a purchase event um, showing up in here, as well as within Google Analytics, right? It perfectly works fine, and I have implemented this for different accounts, and I've been seeing tracking results within Google Ads as well as actual analytics accounts. So just follow this process and execute it. Take a look at the data. If you run into any problem as far as the version tracking is concerned, just let me know in the comment, and otherwise I'm 100% sure it's going to work for you. Thank you so much. See you in the next one.